Hey everyone, Charlie Morgan and welcome to this video. Here in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to hire a $3 an hour virtual assistant. I'm going to give you I think it's 19-page PDF sort of SOP or process on how to hire someone. I've used this for my own businesses to hire virtual assistants that have stayed with me and completed tasks and been absolute machines literally for like 3 or 4 years. It's an amazing little resource and it shows you everything from how to interview someone, how to qualify them, how to onboard them, how to pay them. Everything's covered in it. It's completely free. I haven't got a 997 course or a webinar or free training. It's not a lead magnet to try and get your email. I just want to add as much value to you as possible to help you solve any potential problems you're facing in your company. So this will help you work on your business, not in it. And without further ado, let's hop in. If you're wondering who I am and why you should trust me, my name's Charlie. I've built and scaled an agency to 7 figures called NorthFlow Consulting. I sold the client, so I no longer run it. And I now run a company called Imperium Acquisition, which is a multi-7-figure coaching business that helps people systemize client acquisition. Don't worry, I have no 997 course. There's no webinar, no free training like I said. Just watch the video. I hope you enjoy it and I hope it continues to add more value to your business. Love you lots. Talk to you later.
Hey everyone, Charlie Morgan here and welcome to this video. This one is called Recruiting a Rockstar VA for Loom Alchemy. So what we want to do now that you basically understand Loom Alchemy, now that you've proven it to work, now that you've found the proof of concept and everything, we want to outsource it and we want to fully automate it. So this is sort of the next step in the Loom Alchemy process. At this point in time, you've got everything you need to succeed at Loom Alchemy on your own. But obviously, as you progress through here, it's inevitable you want to start to outsource this stuff. And I know for a fact that a lot of you in the program are thinking long term and you don't want to be sending emails for the rest of your life. So this video is going to help you basically recruit a virtual assistant and find not only just a normal VA but like a really good one, because we want good quality VAs that are diligent. We want them to be organized, we want them to be efficient, we want them to love the business. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you how to recruit them and give you a complete workflow and step-by-step process that you can follow to find the perfect VA for you. So to do this, we've got a resource, and this is how to recruit a rockstar VA for Loom Alchemy. So only 2 slides for this video, but what we do have here is a resource, and this is quite a lengthy resource. Okay, it walks you through every single step there possibly could be to hiring a virtual assistant. Okay, all the way from writing the job offer and finding them and everything to actually hiring them. We've got agreement templates in here. Pretty much everything has been covered. So let's just jump straight in. Okay, so this resource provides a step-by-step workflow on how to hire a rockstar VA specifically for the Loom Alchemy process. Follow the instructions to start outsourcing your Loom Alchemy process. So first of all, a couple of questions here to sort of answer off the bat, because we just need to be really clear on what we are outsourcing and what we need to keep doing ourselves for a while as well, because as you should probably know by now, the Loom Alchemy process has quite a few different moving parts and there's lots of different tasks involved. Now, some of them are low-level tasks that can be automated and done by a virtual assistant, but some of them are high-level tasks that require your time and effort, and we need to differentiate between those two. So first of all, what should you outsource? Well, first of all, you should definitely outsource your lead sourcing. Okay, this honestly is the first thing that you should look to outsource. If you're looking for personal emails and stuff, you should definitely do this. Loom recording, and I don't mean VAs actually recording the looms, I mean using a pre-recorded audio and using those Terminator looms. Now, if you're watching this video but you haven't watched every single Loom Alchemy video so far, then make sure you go back and watch them all, otherwise you're probably going to be outsourcing a suboptimal system, which isn't what you want. But loom recording, loom sending, and also following up on those emails is important, and they can be outsourced. Engaged replies and appointment booking, and then obviously Ghostbuster workflows as well. So if someone doesn't show up for an appointment, then obviously you have that spreadsheet that you're going to be using to log no-show prospects. And once again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you go through and watch Ghostbuster workflows. But what you can do is give your virtual assistant access to that no-show spreadsheet. They can manage all your follow-up for you on engaged prospects. They can manage all the follow-up on no-show calls. Pretty much everything, right, can be done by a VA. But there's a few things that you should not outsource. Now, you can outsource these and you can delegate these tasks, but I would honestly advise you don't do this until you've got like a manager or someone to do it for you, because this stuff is so important. So you should not outsource Gmail account creation. Okay, don't outsource. We talked about anti-fragile Gmail architecture, where we set up our cold accounts and our warm accounts and everything with different phone numbers and everything like that. Don't outsource this, okay? Do not outsource metric management. Okay, you can, if you really want to, you can outsource the actual sort of the adding of those metrics. But honestly, I still log my Loom views. I still log the appointments booked. It takes 5 minutes a day, and it's really, really important to have the finger on the pulse here. So I would not advise you ever outsource metric management. Now, you can do this once you actually hire someone to do, like, to sort of manage all your organic processes. That's fine. But right now, like, we're just outsourcing the tasks. We're not outsourcing the management of those tasks, if that makes sense. Because if you outsource all of this stuff, it's kind of like you're hiring a manager, not a VA, right? The other thing you should not outsource is deliverability management. Okay, all those deliverability tests, all of that, the management hub we use for deliverability, you must do that because it's one of the most important aspects, and you don't want to outsource this stuff just yet. And also testing management, right? So in terms of, keying together those variables and reading the metrics and everything, this needs to be done by you. You cannot pay a VA $5 an hour to take care of this stuff for you. And if you do, things are going to go terribly wrong for you. So make sure you're still doing these things. They don't require too much time, to be honest, but if you want people to do this for you, then you need to start paying like proper salaries, and you need to hire managers and people who actually really, really, really care about the business. Not that your VAs won't, but these tasks, just don't outsource them until you've got someone that you really know and trust and loves the business as much as you do. And so the other question is, when should you outsource it? So you might be wondering, well, how do I know when it's the right time to actually outsource my Loom process? Like when is it right for me to outsource it? Well, you should outsource Loom Alchemy once you're too busy with paying clients to do it properly. Okay, this is honestly the only time you should ever look to outsource the Loom Alchemy process, is when you've got too many clients to not do it yourself. If you do it before that, it's just because you're being lazy, and if you try and make business decisions out of laziness, then you are going to be in trouble. Okay, so don't outsource this if you've got a couple of clients but you've still got plenty of time to do it. Don't outsource it if you're just getting started. The only time you should outsource it is when you genuinely have more important things to do than getting clients. And the only thing in business, at least in the SMMA space, that is more important than getting clients is keeping them. Okay, so the only activity that should take precedent and hierarchy over acquisition is retention. Okay, and I can pretty much tell you that unless you've got like 5 to 10 clients, in fact, not even that, like if you've got 5 clients, you can probably still find plenty of time to do Loom Alchemy. And if you're not, it's probably because you're taking on loads of different clients and loads of different niches with no proven process or anything like that. So only outsource Loom Alchemy once you're too busy with paying clients to do it properly. Okay, that's kind of the rule. So we've got 13 steps to go through here, and I'm going to walk through every single one of them on screen. But to be honest, like they're all pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so step 1 is to create an Upwork account. Okay, so we are going to be using Upwork to hire virtual assistants. It's so much easier than all the other platforms, and honestly, I just recommend it the most. So head over to this link here, Upwork, and create an account, specifying you are looking for talent. So what I'm not going to do is create an Upwork account and walk you through on screen like how to create an account and all this stuff, because it's very, very intuitive, okay? But just having the resources is more than enough. So the next thing to do is create a job offer. So when you open up Upwork, it'll ask you if you're looking for a job or if you're looking for talent. You need to make sure that you say you're looking for talent, and then you can just go ahead and it will start asking you to write a job offer, okay? So you want to write a job offer, and what I've got here is, first of all, the headline, okay? So the headline you want is experienced appointment setter required to source and send cold emails, in brackets, with room to grow. This is going to work wonders for you because a lot of people just want that sort of room for growth. That's the headline. Then it will ask you for the skills required. So lead generation, email handling, appointment setting, email communication, list building, email marketing, communication, lead nurturing. You can add more if you think it's necessary, but these tags should be fine. Scope is medium. So it will ask you like about the scope of the work. Like, is it really, really easy work, like just adding leads to a spreadsheet, or is it really hard work, i.e., managing people or copywriting or whatever? But we just put medium because it's not like Loom Alchemy process. It's not really, really easy, but it's by no means hard, so it's in the middle. Length, more than 6 months. So it will ask you how long you intend on hiring them for. If you put more than 6 months, you will attract people who want long-term work, and they are the people that we want to be working with. Level of experience, just put expert. Like, it will ask you like what level of experience you're looking for with the job. It will say, do you want intermediate, do you want beginners, do you want, just put expert. Like, as we go through here, you just want to aim as high as you can. Really, like, just go straight for the top, go for the best VAs who are going to be with you for the longest period of time, using words like experienced. Honestly, it's just going to work the best for you. Location, worldwide and Philippines. So we want to just source VAs from the Philippines. I've only ever used VAs from the Philippines, and I've always found them to be the loveliest, most hardworking, trustful people. Obviously, there's a few bad apples in there, but honestly, I would just go for the Philippines. Their English is usually really, really good. They're really nice people, and they're really nice to work with. Hourly rate, you can set it $5 to $10. This is up to you. It's honestly your prerogative what you want to pay VAs. I honestly refuse to pay anyone less than $5. Even then, it's a bit like that's a bit of a stretch. I'd rather just pay them $7 or $8. Like, I think that paying $3 an hour for a VA is borderline criminal. It's not criminal, like, because some people are really happy to work for that amount of money, but don't stinge out on this stuff. It's an extra $2 or $3 here or there. Don't just go looking for VAs that you can outsource for, like, we're not Nike, we're not Adidas, we're not looking for slave labor, for God's sake. So just, pay them $5 to $10. Doesn't have to be more than $10. Anything less than $5 is honestly a bit of an insult. And, in this space, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Okay, so just somewhere in the middle here, like $7 an hour, $6 an hour. 5 is a fine. Anything above 10 is too much, at least for this specific task. So that's the hourly rate. And then what we've got here is a job description. So what it will ask you to do after, in fact, I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to do it just so you can clearly see exactly how this works. If I just go in here to my Upwork account, this is a very old account actually. Haven't used this one for a long, long time, but I can just demonstrate how this works, okay? Okay, so yeah, you'll see here my postings. You just press post a job, and oh, okay, so it looks like Upwork is here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. So as you go through here, so what you want to do is put short-term or part-time work. They're not going to be working more than 30 hours a week. We're just doing Loom Alchemy stuff here. It's probably going to be like 10 to 30 hours a week, no more than 30, of course. Continue, enter the name of your job post. This is obviously the headline. Okay, so let's just do this real quick. Okay. And then job category, you can just put, virtual / administrative. This is fine, honestly. And if you just go next here, it will ask you for the description, right? So the description, you can just copy this here. Okay, so this is the description that we use to hire VA specifically for Loom Alchemy. So, instead of you having to write all this out, we've sort of just got it for you. Have a read through, make sure that you are sort of happy with everything here. One of the main points of this description is that we're looking for VAs that have a laptop or computer with a 64-bit processor. The faster their computer, the more efficient they will be. Honestly, I would not even bother thinking about hiring a VA with some shitty old 2013 Lenovo laptop that takes 6 hours to boot up. Like, seriously, the speed of their computer is really important, and also the speed and reliableness of their internet connection is really important as well. So, we need to put these technical requirements in. Skills required, excellent English is a must, knowledge of Google Sheets, of Gmail, dealing with warm leads, understanding lead nurturing, flexibility with working time and hours. So flexibility is really important here. I put it under skills required because it's not really a skill, but it is required. We do not want VAs scheduling emails, if you remember. It harms deliverability. We need them to be sending emails at the time at which our prospects are best to receive them, which could be morning time US or afternoon time UK, for example. So you need to make sure that they are flexible with their working time and hours, and that's that. Then what we've got here is job roles include but are not limited to. So you might want to edit this depending upon what you want to outsource first. So if you're just obviously doing lead sourcing to begin with, then you can just cut the other stuff out, but I've got everything in here that you could need. Then what we have is this little note. It says put number 88 in your application so we know you've taken the time to read this description. So this is handy because a lot of people on Upwork, they just sort of go around applying for jobs without actually reading it, and they just try and make it a numbers game. So what we do here is we can sort of separate the wheat from the chaff just by putting 88 in the application. Then we know that the people who put 88 in their application have actually read it, and they've paid attention to detail. right? Because when you're hiring people, attention to detail is something you should definitely look for. So that's helpful. And then required personal attributes. Honestly, like, I don't go too hard on this because everybody thinks they're amazing and everybody can just apply regardless of what you put here. But these are the main ones: work ethic, focus, efficiency, English skills. Okay. And then what we do is expect a long-term role with plenty of room for growth, approximately 2 hours per day to start, but this can grow if you're good. So, we want to hire for the long term, and we want to hire for potential as opposed to innate talent. And we want to grow with people and sort of help them expand their career within our company. So what I'm going to do is just put this in here. Now, when you copy and paste this, it will not be broken up. So you're going to have to go in here and just, sort of do this a little bit, but you can do that. If I go next here, then we've got details. So this is going to be a ongoing project. Okay. And that's that. So then what we have is screening questions. Okay, so what you can do here is you can add, these are optional. You can add up to 5, I think. Yeah, it says 5 here. But what you want to do is create your own question and basically have these 5 questions in here. Okay, so first of all, we want to understand what attracted them to the opportunity, what they think the 3 most important traits someone should have to be successful in this role. This will give us a really good indication if they understand, like, what they need. And if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll just reiterate these personal attributes. Honestly, that's literally what I look for. Like, because then you can tell they're quite clever and they've paid attention to the description. Okay, so that's a bit of a trick. We asked them this question to see if they refer to these required personal attributes. But anyways, we asked them this question. Then we just this is more of an expectation question. This project will require 2 to 4 hours of work per day, most of which will happen at the same time every day. But you will also be required to work 10 to 15 minutes at set times to reply and follow up on emails. Are you able to work within flexibility and time zones? And does this suit your working schedule? Because, we're going to be doing, if we're outsourcing the engaged prospect follow up, then in my time zone, I would be doing that on Monday and Friday evenings. And, we want them to be doing it in their time zone as if it's in my time zone, if that makes sense. So, we need to just check with them, like, are you okay to, work for 10 minutes at 8 in the morning? Or are you okay to work at 9 p.m. for half an hour? This is going to be dependent on their time zone, and you can sort of make sure this is the case when you're on the interview with them. But, the nature of what we do requires availability, and it also requires consistency of times and stuff. So that's that. Then number 4, does your computer or laptop have a 64-bit processor? What computer do you have? And then 5, what previous experience do you have in this role? Okay, to be honest, we're not too concerned about previous experience because, your experience with Loom Alchemy or just sending looms in general before coming into this program was probably extremely limited, and now you're an absolute destroyer. Right, you've got an amazing system. So previous experience doesn't really count for too much, but it never hurts to sort of understand where someone's coming from. We don't really want to hire perfect beginners, but to be honest, I would rather hire someone for their ability to learn than what they already know, if that makes sense, because then we can sort of, it's like a grow your own. Like, I would rather someone come to me with no previous experience but a really, really good sort of attitude towards learning and an open mind than someone who thinks they already know everything and isn't willing to change. So we're not too concerned about previous experience. It will help us a little bit, but I'd rather have someone who's a fresh, like, sort of hire, if that makes sense, that we can train. So these are screening questions. When you receive these responses, you want to look out for grammar and spelling errors. Okay, those that put more effort into their answers are more likely to be conscientious and driven. If they can't be bothered to send a completed application, what do you think their work will look like when they're doing what do you think their work will look like when they are doing more complicated tasks? Really important question. So, when we send out these questions, these screening questions, which you can put in here, you really want to, like, when people are going to answer these, they can't answer them without, if they don't apply, they can't answer them. But, like, the answers they give here, like, if it's just like, what attracted you to this opportunity? If they just say one word, like, I like the look of it, it's like, come on, man, put some more effort in. Because if that's how much effort they put in applying for the job, then you can only imagine how much they're going to put in when they actually do the job. Okay. And as we work through here, it will then ask you what skills. So this is, I've sort of misordered this a little bit, but when it asks for the skills, you can use these ones, and then obviously you can put all these in here, like expertise, skills, everything. Pick what you want, and then what we're going to do here is put expert, Okay, worldwide, and as we know, we're going to go to the Philippines. Okay, who can see your job? Anyone? No specific freelancers or agencies. Talent preferences, honestly, we can just leave blank. We'll go next here. Then we're going to do pay by the hour, and we're going to put set your own hourly range, and you can put in here like $5 to $10 an hour. Okay, because this is quite useful, because some good VAs will apply. They want $10 an hour, but we can always negotiate them down to $5. Now you can change this depending on how much you want to pay. Like I said, if you come in here and put $3 an hour, then I don't know what to say to you. Just don't do that. Okay, right. Let's go back through here. Okay, let's just put 5 and 10. Okay, so how long do you expect this project to last? More than 6 months. We want to attract VAs that want the long-term work. Do you have a time requirement for this project? Less than 30 hours a week. Okay. And then you can just press post job now. Just have a quick look through, make sure you're happy with everything, make sure you've got your description edited. And honestly, that's all there is to just writing this job application. Obviously, we've taken a lot of the hard work out of it for you. You can just copy and paste what we've already used. And we've used this process to hire multiple VAs that have been absolute rock stars. Like, seriously, we've had VAs from this sort of job description and this exact process that have really, really, really blown us away with the quality of their work. So I've no doubt that it should be quite easy for you to find good ones as well. Okay, it might ask you for advanced preferences, so like how good their English should be and how many hours they should work, and we put this one in so you can use those ones here. So that's step number 2. So step number 1, create an Upwork account. Step number 2, create a job offer, and you should now have done that. So now let's work through to step number 3, which is to create an interview event in Calendly. Okay, so now what we want to do is obviously create this Calendly event, because we're now going to be interviewing virtual assistants and potential candidates for this role. Once you post the job, you're going to start to receive people apply for it. Okay, now one option you have on Upwork is to actually boost the job, and you can boost it for $20. I would honestly, if you really want to find good VAs, just boost the thing. Like for $20, it's actually a really good investment. And that also allows you to invite more virtual assistants to the job that are actually a good fit. And I think also Upwork will actually get in touch to help you with your jobs and everything, and they'll help you find better candidates as well. So that's one option to boost it, but obviously you don't need to do that. It's not mandatory, but I'd recommend it. But once we do this, like I said, you'll start to receive responses from people who want to do the work, and so we're gonna be interviewing these people. So to do this, and we want to systemize this really, we don't just want to sort of arrange these random times. We want to create a Calendly event specifically for this. So go into Calendly and create a new event called VA Interview. Okay, it should be about 60 minutes long. Make sure you've got lots of availability. Okay, because especially early in the morning or late in the evening, if your time zone doesn't align with the Philippines. So create an event. Honestly, when you create this Calendly event, you can literally just create it within like 2 minutes. We're not putting any questions in or anything. We should already have their screening questions and their pre-application questions filled out. So we don't need to have any of these questions in there. Just as a quick note, if you find that you don't get many responses, then what you can do is remove the screening questions from this section of the application. Like, go back and make another job again, remove these screening questions, and instead just create a Calendly event with these questions in there, if that makes sense. So that's just a quick note. If for any reason you don't get lots of responses immediately or within a couple of weeks, then you can always go back and remove these questions and put them in Calendly instead. So it says here no questions are required, but obviously if you remove them from the application, then they will be. But what you want to do is set it up as a Zoom meeting, right? You can connect and integrate Zoom within Calendly and in the integration settings in Calendly. So this is quite straightforward. If you go to Calendly and to integrations, you can connect your Zoom account, and that means that, you can then go into your Calendly event and make sure that it's a Zoom meeting, so that, you can just host the thing through Zoom. Okay, that'll give you a pretty good idea of, the person you're talking to and everything like that. Okay. So step 4 is to invite candidates for an interview. Okay, so once you've posted the job, you want to wait 1 to 2 weeks before replying to applicants. Okay, then you want to go through the applicants and delete those who have clearly put no effort into their application and when answering the screening questions. Also delete those that don't have a 64-bit computer or a powerful laptop. Narrow it down to the point where you have a pool of applicants who qualify for the role, in brackets, on paper. So now what you want to do is, what you'll find is you should have loads of different applicants for the job. And you want to sift through them, delete those that look like they've put no effort in, delete those that don't seem like a good fit, delete the ones that have crappy laptops or something like that. And then, you should narrow it down probably by about like 50, 60%, depending on how many applications you've got, okay? And so what we want to do next is, obviously, now that we've narrowed it down, is we want to invite these candidates that could be a good fit for us for an interview. So to do that, you can just copy and paste this message that just says, "Hey John, good news, you made it through to the next stage in our recruiting process. I'd like to invite you to a 30 to 45 minute Zoom interview. Go ahead and grab some time for this week." And then you put your Calendly link in here. And then you put, "By the way, I plan on making my final hiring decision on the 29th of Jan," or whatever date, you can change this obviously according to the date you want to hire them. So just so you know what timeline we're working on here, if you have any questions or if no available times suit you, let me know. Okay, so what we want to do here is just invite them to the Calendly link. They can go ahead and book a time that suits them. And then we also want to let them know when we plan on making the final hiring decision as well, just because, it's a nice thing to do and it just means that they know when you're hiring. Okay, simple stuff. So then step 5 is to log your candidates in the VA candidate spreadsheet. So make a note of all your candidates in this spreadsheet. So everyone that you've screened and booked a call with, you want to go and use this sheet, okay? This is a really simple sheet, honestly. Just go here to File and make a copy and make your own copy so you can edit it. But what you want to do here is put their name, their email if you've got it, the date they applied for the job or the date you're talking to them on. Then they should have answered the screening questions, so you can just copy and paste those questions in here, and then you can just wrap the cell so you can see the full answer. Okay, and then that's all you want to do for now, right? So we're going to have the interview questions in here as well, but for now that's all you need, just so we've got all the applications in here. Maybe you've got 10 potential people to interview. You've got them all in here. You can see their answers. You've got their contact information. You know when they've applied. It's all in one place. Okay, pretty simple. And that's basically that in terms of logging them and inviting them to the event and everything. So the next step is to actually interview your VAs. So I know I'm sort of just completely whizzing through these steps, but to be fair, they're quite straightforward. But step number 6 is to interview your virtual assistants. Okay, so once you've got a handful of qualified VAs, it's time to interview them. So you should have sent them the Calendly link, and they should now have booked in, and we want to interview them, right? So now you can refer to this resource for information on best interview practices and questions to ask, in brackets resource linked here. Okay, so this resource, it basically breaks down how to conduct interviews and what the best practices for interviewing are and exactly what questions to ask. I don't want you guys going into these interviews not really knowing what to ask or what to look for. If you haven't interviewed someone before, it's natural to be just as nervous as the person being interviewed if you're not prepared, okay? So this resource will help you conduct better interviews with potential VAs for your Loom Alchemy process. So best practices for interviewing. Okay, so first of all, off the bat here, we've got a few things you want to bear in mind when interviewing people, because often is the case, it's not really about the questions you ask, but it's just more about what you look for, if that makes sense. Okay, so first of all, when you're interviewing, you want to have your candidate spreadsheet open for each interview, and you want to make sure you change the questions to suit the ones you pick below. So on this spreadsheet, when you're doing interviews, what you want to do here is change these interview questions to obviously suit the questions that you're actually going to be asking. And I'll walk you through what questions to ask in a second. But obviously, you want to ask each VA the same questions. You don't want to ask them random ones. So, make sure you come in here, edit these, and that's that. Okay, so that is the first part. Let's keep working through here. Okay, and that's how we use the spreadsheet. So fill these questions out. I'll give you the questions in a second, but then you want to put their answers in here so that you can just, at the end of it, when you're sort of like looking through to make your decision at the end, you can just see all their answers, everything like that. The other thing is we want to put whether or not they're on time for the interview. I take punctuality very seriously, and I expect all my staff to do the same. So if someone is 10 minutes late without an excuse, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to hire you, because that's not on, right? And that's that. The other thing we have on this spreadsheet is this questions tab. So at the end, we ask them if they have any questions. Good candidates will ask good questions. Okay, so you can just put them in here, and then obviously you can take any notes that you want to add in here as well. Okay, so that's the first part in terms of using the spreadsheet for interviewing them. So the next part is to think of the qualities you're looking for in a VA and make sure you have opportunities to explore these qualities during the interview. So, for example, if you want punctuality, see if they show up on time. But basically you sort of, I can't really do this for you because it depends on who you want to work with. I can't tell you exactly what to look for, but what you want to do is you want to sort of just think, okay, what are the 3 things that I really want my VA to be like? Do I want them to, have a sense of humor potentially, when dealing with prospects? Do I want them to be serious? Do I want them to be, efficient? Like, you want to think about these qualities before you go in. And then you want to make sure that you're asking questions that give you the opportunity to explore whether or not they have those qualities, okay? The next point is don't make it too easy for them, okay? This interview doesn't have to be this friendly process where you're sort of trying to make a friend. You're going to be their boss technically, and you don't need to be a dick as such, but you don't need to make it too easy for them. Let them sort of sit and sweat a little bit. You can be silent, you can sort of let them talk and let the silence sort of sit, and you want to uncover their weaknesses. Uncover what their weaknesses are by asking hard and complicated questions instead of directly asking for their weaknesses. So don't just go to them and say, right, what are your weaknesses? Because if you do that, they're going to start to say, oh, I'm just a perfectionist, or oh, I think I work too hard. They're not really weaknesses, they're just playing us, right? So what you want to do instead is ask difficult questions. Don't avoid difficult questions because they make you uncomfortable to ask. I promise you, if you do this enough, you'll be very comfortable with it eventually. So let them sit in silence for a bit, let them talk, ask difficult questions, and don't be afraid to sort of make the thing a little bit uncomfortable. So the next step, pay more attention to how they answer questions than what they actually say. This is really important. Like, you want to pick up on their tone of voice, the way they deliver, how quickly they're talking, all these things we want to pay more attention to than the actual content of the words they say. Then we need to listen to the sounds they make, especially when you ask them a question they haven't prepared for. Okay, so if you ask them like a question that they just haven't even thought to answer, you want to sort of figure out how they handle it. Like, are they going like, oh, like, why did he ask that? Or if they're sort of like, oh, that's a really good question actually. It's those small little nuances that will make a huge difference. So listen to the sounds they make, listen to the non-verbal cues, really important. Be sure you are actually getting straight answers, okay? If you ask them for an example and they give you a general answer, dig back in and demand an example. So, you might say, can you give me an example of when you solved a problem on your own without your boss's help? And if they say, oh yeah, I do that all the time, then that's not really an answer, it's a general answer. So if you ask for an example, or if you ask for a straight answer, make sure you get it. And don't be afraid to continue to ask for an example until they either give you one or admit they haven't actually done that before. Okay, you don't want to get to the bottom of this stuff, right? Think about this like you're inviting someone in to your house. Not literally, but like your business, your baby, your most important thing. You're going to be outsourcing a really, really important part of it, building this house, to another person, and you want to make sure that they're the best person for the job. So don't be afraid to ask these difficult questions and dig in and be quite demanding, because if we don't do that, then we're gonna potentially get the wrong person. Okay, take this really seriously. So follow up these responses with, it sounds like you hesitated on that one. What would that be about? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but 9 times out of 10, they'll uncover the answer for you. So if they give you like a general answer, or if they sound uncertain in their answer, then just call them out and say, hey, it sounds like you don't really know what you're talking about there. Could we explore this a second? And, it might feel horrifically uncomfortable to do this, but, eventually you'll get to the bottom of everything and it'll help. So to find out what their weaknesses are, do not ask them what their weaknesses are. Instead, ask them about what they dislike. Okay, ask them about the parts of the job they don't look forward to or wish someone else would do for them. So this will people don't like what they are bad at. Okay, so instead of asking them what they're not good at, just ask them what they don't like doing. And that will give you a pretty good indication of what they're not very good at, because they don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is probably because they're not very good at it. Okay, so that's how you can find out what they're bad at. And then you also want to ask about favorites and least favorites, right? So you want to say, like, what's the best boss you ever had? What made them so great? And now tell me about a boss you didn't like so much. Tell me about your favorite part of the job and your least favorite part of the job. This will help you gauge if they're a potential fit for you, right? So you want to ask them, like, about what sort of boss they like working with. What to them, what makes a good boss? What makes a bad boss? Like, in the past, when you're working with clients, what has a boss done that's really upset you? Because your own style of working, you might want some, direct conversation and stuff, but if they say they don't like that, then it might not be a good fit for you. And last but not least, keep a casual tone to the conversation, as this will help them open up and be themselves. Okay, you don't need, we need to keep a serious attitude, and we want to try and make the thing a tiny bit uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, we're talking human to human. You can still keep it casual, you can joke around and stuff, but just find a balance between making a friend and hiring a potential teammate. Okay, so now we've got some questions to ask. I'm not going to walk through all these now. I think I've got like 13 or something, but this is what you want to open the interview with. And then what you can do here is go through these questions and just pick the ones you want to use. Okay, you can do anywhere between 5 and 10, depends on how thorough you want to be and how long you want the interview to go on for. I typically just use like 7 or 8 questions. You can pick and choose which questions you want to ask. Okay, and then you can wrap up the interview using this here. Pretty straightforward. Okay, this stuff, interviewing people, it's not very complicated. You just need to first of all know what you're looking for, and not what you're looking for in terms of past experience and what they've done. It's more just what you're looking for in terms of personality traits and characteristics and stuff like that. And then you can just ask questions that help you root out those traits to see if the person has them. Okay, it is honestly, that's really all you have to do here. So the only way we can get there is by using clever questioning and accepting the fact it might be a tiny bit uncomfortable of a process. So once you've picked the questions you want to ask, go ahead and add them into the spreadsheet here. Okay, you don't have to ask 10. You might want to ask 5 or 6. You might want to ask more than 10. It's up to you. And then as you work through each interview, you can just type in here what the people have to say, and then you should be good. Okay, so that's the interviewing. Pretty straightforward, not too complicated, and that should prepare you for interviewing. Okay, so once you've interviewed your VAs, you want to sort of narrow it down a bit. So we want to give out test assignments. This is step 7. So once you've interviewed all your candidates, narrow it down to your 3 to 4 best ones. Okay, the interview doesn't give us a grasp on their competency, so we need to test them to see how they perform on the job. To be honest, the interview is just a bit of a formality. You're not going to gauge whether or not someone's good or not based on the answers they give in interviews. I've had it before where the person who interviews the worst is the person who is the best person for the job, and the person who interviews the best is the worst person for the job. Seriously. So the interview is important because it helps us gauge whether or not they're a good, nice person, if they're nice to talk to, what qualities they have. But at the same time, it's only really going to account for 30% of your understanding of them. The other 70% is going to come from the test assignment. So we need to plan a test assignment. Now, I can't really do this for you, as you may be hiring the VA for different parts of the Loom Alchemy process. But the easiest thing to do here is to just take the tasks you want to be outsourced and all the accounts related to that, and then briefly list what they need to do to complete the task. So what you want to do is you should understand what you want to outsource. You don't have to, if you want to outsource the whole process, then when we talk about giving out test assignments, you don't need to give them the whole process. It might just be, okay, can you do this lead sourcing for us? Or can you send these emails for us, for example? And we want to just sort of watch them closely and see how closely they follow our instructions, how efficient they are with their time, how quick they are, etc., etc. So ask them to log their hours and let them know it will be paid. When they've completed it, review their work and how long it took them. Also watch for how closely they follow instructions, etc. Okay? When you give out the test assignment, you will technically have to hire them on Upwork. Pretty simple process. There's really clear instructions on how to hire someone on Upwork. But what we want to do, you want to take like a couple of hours to just think about what test assignments you can give to these VAs just to assess whether or not they've actually got the work ethic and the efficiency to be good at the job. Okay, so pause the video now, just plan out what test assignment you want to do. For example, with NorthFlow, what we did is we basically just asked them to create their own Gmail account, source their own leads, and send as many emails as they could using their own copywriting skills within 3 hours. Right? We weren't at all concerned with how well their copy was, how good their copy was. We weren't concerned with any of that at all unless we were hiring them for a copywriting role. But we sort of just wanted to see how they handled it themselves. You know, if they use common sense, you know, when creating that Gmail account, like what name did they use and stuff. You know, all of these little things we just wanted to review. We wanted to see if they created their own spreadsheet. You know, we didn't really give them specific instructions. We just said to them, look, this is a test assignment, and we're just, you know, what we want you to do is take 3 hours to create a Gmail account, find some leads in our niche, and, you know, write an email to them, and, you know, then we would just sort of just let them get on with it. And then we would, instead of giving them strict, really specific step-by-step instructions, we sort of just let them think for themselves, and that allowed us to gauge how well they would perform when they had strict instructions. Okay, so that's what we did, but you can come up with your own. Pretty straightforward thing to do, and that's that. So you want to give them test assignments, have those test assignments run for a couple of days or at least a week, and then it's step 8. Okay, and this is deciding. Okay, so now you have to decide which VA to work with. Okay, you should be choosing from 3 to 5 VAs you've already interviewed and tested. The biggest mistake that I see agency owners make, or anyone for that matter, is they hire the first person they interview. Okay, you want to have 3 to 5 VAs interviewed and tested before you decide. Okay, so to decide, just think about the long term, right? To decide who you actually hire, think in terms of years from now. You know, who do you want to work with and who fits into the desired culture of your business? So culture, you probably don't need to worry too much about culture if you're not, unless you're doing like 7 figures. You might need to a little bit if you're doing like multi 6 figures, but like you want to just sort of think, right, I'm going to be working with this person pretty much every day and probably for the next few years. So you want to think not just for the next like couple of weeks, but, you know, 3 years from now, do you want to be working with them? Do you want to trust them with your business? Do you want them to be responsible for this task? You know, which is really important to the business. And here are some questions you can ask yourself to determine whether or not someone might be a good fit for you and if you want to hire them. Will I enjoy working with this person? Can I offload more work to them long term? Did they follow my instructions with the test, or did they use common sense? Honestly, common sense is one of just pretty much the main thing we look for. Like when we hire people and run those tests, the main thing we look for is like it's self-competency in terms of people figuring stuff out for themselves and just having common sense. Those are the 2 things we look for. Are they diligent and efficient? And based on their interview answers, are they a good fit? Making a decision is down to you, and there's no resource or specific steps we can give you to do this. Okay, you know, you need to sort of take matters into your own hands here a bit, ask yourself these questions, think long term, and make the decision to work with the right person. Now, you also want to have a backup. So think about who you want to work with the most, and then think about who you would want to work with if they decided not to take the job, right? So if you have like 3 candidates and you pick one and then you let 2 of them down and then pick the other one, and the one who you've picked decides they don't want to do it anymore, then you kind of have to go back to these other 2 candidates with your tail between your legs, right? So don't tell losing candidates they've lost until you've onboarded the winner and got the contract signed and everything. So step 9 is offering the job. Okay, so once you've made your decision, send the winning candidate the job offer. Okay, you can message them directly on Upwork, and here's an example. So you can copy and paste this, right? You know, it's into Upwork. This is the actual message that we use to let people know that they have successfully won the job. Okay, so hey John, I have great news. We'd love to hire you, and we'd love to have you join us for the long term. Before you say yes, I want you to take a day or 2 to think it through so that this is definitely the right role for you and the right decision for you to make. Feel free to take 24 hours. This is because we want you to be a long-term member of our team, and I want you to be interested in the work you will be doing. So, you know, we want to just let people have a day or 2 to think about it. You know, we don't want them to impulsively say yes. We want them to take some time to genuinely consider whether or not this role is right for them, because, you know, we just want to be certain. We're going to be hiring them for the long term. So, you know, some time to think about it is necessary. And then what we do is we list out their main job roles, right? So, we sort of list out role number 1, role 2, role 3. If you're doing if you're outsourcing the whole Loom Alchemy process, then you want to put the whole Loom Alchemy process in here, right? Every single role they could have, whether it's lead sourcing, recording looms, sending them, following up, engage prospect follow-up, calling leads, all of this stuff like no-show workflows, put it all in here. And then once you put in the roles, you put after this, there will be some room for growth and promotions, but I do not know where those lead yet since I'm still growing and don't know what is around the corner. So please take your time to think about your answer. So we let them know, and you don't have to put this in there if you don't intend on growing the VA, but honestly, like once you find a good VA, you can pretty much give them anything to do and they'll probably be really good at it. So, that's how you want to follow that process through, okay? Is just put that bit in there. And then we want to set some expectations. So we're looking to get started on date. We're paying you whatever you are, like $9 an hour, $7 an hour. You can expect 3 to 4 hours of work per day, Monday through Friday. Eventually, we will move towards a fixed salary once we understand how long the work takes you. We can talk about this in a month or two. Let me know if you're happy to take the job. So long term, we want our VAs to be on monthly salaries. And because this is one of the keys to hiring a VA, like in the initial stages, we want to pay them hourly because we want to sort of figure out how long the roles take them. Now, you should already know this because you should have been doing these roles yourself for a while, and you should understand roughly how long it takes and what efficiency looks like. To be honest, like recording your looms and sending them should take no more than, an hour or two, depending on how many you're sending, right? So, pay them by the hour for the first month or two, but long term you want them on a salary. And what you want to do is you want to give them a specific set of tasks, and tell them how many looms they need to send, exactly what workflows they need to follow, and then what you do is you pay them a salary to complete those tasks. It doesn't matter how long it takes them, it just matters they get the work done. Because eventually, if you keep paying by the hour, it incentivizes them to be inefficient. And we do not want to incentivize inefficiency, okay? Because then they might just drag out their tasks. They might go and have a coffee break on the clock. So a lot of them, most people won't do that. Most VAs are really, really diligent, but you don't want to have any sort of incentive for the VA to take their time. I don't care if they get the Loom Alchemy stuff done in 5 minutes. If they still get it done to the high quality I expect, I'll pay them the money for the job, okay? But you can't really fairly negotiate a salary until you clearly understand exactly how long the process takes the person, okay? So you don't want to make that really clear to them to begin with. You don't want to tell them, I'm going to be closely monitoring how many hours it takes you, because that will influence how much I pay you salary-wise, because then they might have an incentive to drag the work out for the first month or two. But, work with them closely, make sure they understand what they're doing, and after about 2 months, they should be as efficient as they could be, and then you can negotiate a salary with them. So like you might just want to pay them like $400 a month or $600 a month, depending on what volume you're using. And then that way, once that's done, it's set. You know exactly how much money you're paying per month. It's set in stone. The VA knows how much money they're making. You pay them at the end or the start of the month. They know when they're getting paid. They know how much they're getting paid. You know exactly what they're doing. And it sort of removes this variable where 1 month you might pay them a bit more, a bit less. It's just messy. It's easier to have a salary, and you pay for the performance of the role and the job itself, not the hours they're actually working for. And that's honestly the way it should be, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's offering the job. And if the VA comes back and says they want to take the job, then what we need to do is get a legal agreement signed. So once your candidate has agreed to work with you, you need to send an agreement to make things official. Do this by using DocuSign or an alternative e-signature provider. I honestly just use DocuSign, and email this agreement to the VA for an e-signature. So I use DocuSign. You can upload like a PDF of the legal agreement and just send it over to them through DocuSign, and they'll sign it, and you can sign it, and then you've both got the agreement in place. So I've got a template here for you. This is literally like a copy and pastable template specifically for hiring a VA in terms of giving them like a legal agreement. So what you want to do here is go to File and make a copy, and you might want to remove our logo and this little disclaimer at the bottom, okay? But then what you want to do is everything in yellow needs to be edited, right, according to your stuff, and you just read through this thing and make sure this is all obviously, the tasks and everything, the times they might be working, and then at the bottom here you'll have the signature, the name, the company, the date for you, and also the virtual assistant. Right, pretty straightforward stuff. you know, you can use this, send it over through DocuSign, and then, you know, you've basically got them on board. And then they're technically working for you, which is quite exciting. Okay. And then what we want to do is step 12 is send an Upwork job offer. Okay. So now create a job offer in Upwork and send it to your VA. For the first month or two, I'd advise paying them through Upwork. Okay. So, once you've actually hired someone, or once you've agreed they can work with you, Upwork will give you the option to send over a job offer, or to actually hire them. I think the button is just a little green hire button. And there you just basically put in how much you're paying them. You make sure you specify that they're not being paid a salary yet, that it's just hourly work. And then what they will do is basically send an invoice when, you know, you're agreeing for them to be paid, and you can take care of that inside of Upwork. Okay, pretty simple stuff. And then the final step is step 13, which is salarying your VA. I'm not sure if salarying is an actual word, but I'm sure that makes sense. After 1 to 2 months, you want to move your VA from hourly work to a salary, right? Figure out how many hours the tasks are taking them and negotiate a monthly salary for them on the premise that if they complete the tasks given, for example, sending 40 looms a day, then they get paid a certain amount. This incentivizes efficiency. And if you want, you can move to pay their salary via TransferWise or PayPal as opposed to Upwork. Okay, most VAs will want to be paid through Upwork, but once you've established a relationship with them, you might want to do it through TransferWise or Stripe or something. Like, don't use anything other than Upwork for the first 1 to 2 months, but once they've actually proven themselves and once they're trustworthy and everything, then you can use a different system. I would never ever give them your card details so they can bill you, but you might want to get them to send you invoices through Stripe or something. Or actually, I don't think Stripe would be a good idea because I think you have to give them card details for that to work. I'm not too sure. But yeah, you know, you want to build some trusting relationships with them, but you know, I wouldn't give a VA my card. You know, so PayPal is fine, TransferWise, you can use any of these ones, okay? And congratulations, you've now recruited a rockstar VA. So that really is all there is to VA recruitment. I say all there is, there's, you know, 13 steps to it, but what I wanted to do with this video was sort of take all the ambiguity out of this process, because, you know, off the bat, hiring a VA, like at least finding a really good one, is not an easy thing to do. But if you use this template and all these resources, it becomes very streamlined. You know, you've got all these templates, you've got the spreadsheet to keep track of all your candidates, you've got, you know, the only thing you're going to have to think of yourself, of course, is the test assignments. But that isn't very difficult to do. You just think about what they're going to be doing and just give them a smaller version of that and see how well they do it on a small scale. And how well they do it on a small scale is going to be a reflection of how good they do it on a big scale. So yeah, that's it really. It's really straightforward. And then the other thing is that managing VAs is pretty self-explanatory, right? You just want to set really clear expectations and give them really clear workflows so there's no ambiguity to the tasks they need to do. Okay, you want to remove the need for them to think about what they're doing, especially when it comes to Loom Alchemy. So the next video, following on from this one, is going to be about workflow SOPs specifically for virtual assistants. So what I'm going to do is combine every single part of the Loom Alchemy process in the next video, and basically give step-by-step instructions in a PDF format so that you can basically pick what you want your VA to do and then send them over those PDFs, and they will have video guides in there so your VA can just be immediately onboarded and just understand exactly what needs to be done, if that makes sense. You will need to make a few edits to those perhaps, and you might need to add some things in depending upon what you're doing, but it should be quite straightforward. So that's everything for hiring a rockstar. You know, recruiting rockstars is the name of this module. So I hope this has been useful for you. This will be available in the resources section to download, and I will see you in the next video right now. Thanks for watching. Take care.